Hello, good morning, dear analyst. We'll be looking at Scrum ceremonies, an introduction, and how to guide shortly. So, what is the Scrum framework? The Scrum framework is a popular framework of Agile project management, originally originating from the world of software development, but has since found application in various industries and businesses because of its simplicity. The Scrum framework is lightweight yet very powerful framework that is used for developing, delivering, and sustaining complex products. Is iterative development. That is, work is done in small, manageable sprints. Scrum breaks down larger projects into smaller bits of work. These small bits of work are accomplished through different sprints, and their results are increments that gradually form the larger projects. In our case, the larger project goal is to equip interns with advanced data analytics and business intelligence skills through real world business cases, culminating in a production grade capstone project. To achieve this goal, the project has been broken down into smaller bits of weekly work, which are sprints. The sprint deliverable is what we call increments because those increments gradually form or help us achieve our larger project objective. Okay. So now, secondly, the framework encourages team collaboration. That is, cross functional teams can self organize to solve problems. In our case, you see that we have several teams, although now you can only individually work on your project. That is so that you can enhance your ability to solve data problems. But we get to a stage in this internship that you'll be able to work in teams to solve these problems. Then, thirdly, there's room for continuous feedback and adaptation. And this is done through regular reviews and retrospectives. And that is the importance of the Scrum ceremonies we'll be discussing this morning. Before we discuss the Scrum events, let us see what a sprint is. So, what is a sprint? A sprint is a time boxed event or iteration in Scrum. It typically lasts anywhere from 1 week to 4 weeks, during which a potentially shippable product increment is created. Think of it as a short development cycle where the team focuses on delivering a piece of working software or a valuable output. Every sprint has a clear goal called the sprint goal and a defined scope of work selected from the product backlog during the sprint planning. In our case, our sprint duration is 1 week, that is 5 days. And this is so because of the amount of work to be done. It is possible that we can finish up the increment or the shippable increment within that duration without burnout. So that is why we have created this. However, in some projects, you have a popular 2 weeks cadence, okay, where you have a sprint lasting 2 weeks. Like I said earlier, it is possible that it lasts 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and at most 4 weeks. So, why is it important that the Scrum framework will have such a cycle? It's important because the sprint encourages focus It encourages predictability and rhythm in development. Imagine you have to develop the entire project. If you have some errors, you won't be able to manage such errors. And that is why the sprint is important, because the sprint now gives us opportunity to develop shippable increments, that is parts of the entire large goals in bits. Like in our calendar now, we have the entire project lasting a period of 1 year, but we have broken down the task that we'll be doing to last 1 week each within that 1 year cycle. And you can see here that we have the week one, we have the business case, we have the problem statement, the technical skills, as well as the deliverables, right? This gives a clear picture as to what is expected and what a shippable increment will be. Now let's look at the overview of the Scrum ceremonies. Scrum ceremonies are structured events that facilitate collaboration and communication within a Scrum team. These events create a framework for teams to plan, for teams to monitor and review their work, ensuring that everyone is aligned with project goals and improving overall efficiency. So, what are the key benefits of these ceremonies? These ceremonies foster an environment of continuous improvement. It enhances team accountability and promotes transparency in the project implementation. They help in identifying obstacles early, encouraging regular feedback, and ensuring that the team is on track to meet its objectives. By the time we go into details of each of these ceremonies, you will understand why these are the benefits. Scrum ceremonies play a critical role in the Agile framework by providing a structured approach to project management. And this approach is so structured that it helps in iteration. It is easy for shippable increments to be worked upon and combined to form the entire project easier than it is for the entire project to be reworked upon. So let's look at the types of the Scrum ceremonies that we have. We'll begin with the sprint planning. The sprint planning is a structured meeting that takes place at the beginning of every sprint. Its purpose is to determine what can be delivered in the upcoming sprint and how the work will be completed. This event, that is the sprint planning event, set the tone for the sprint by aligning the team on a clear goal and actionable plan. It transforms high level priorities into a focused list of tasks. The key activities during the sprint planning include defining the sprint goal. During the sprint planning, a clear and concise objective of the sprint is set, and that objective or that goal is what should be achieved during the sprint. It provides direction and focus for the team throughout the sprint. For example, in our case, an example would be to optimize a business service response time tracking using historical data. The second activity will be to select product backlog item. A product backlog is a prioritized list of all work to be done in the product. It is dynamic, continuously refined, and maintained by the product owner. It represents the what, all desired features, the fixes, the enhancement, and business needs. In our case, like I pointed out, the 34 business cases in our project calendar form product backlog. Are you following?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we're following.
All right. So during the sprint planning, items are picked from the product backlog based on the goal of the sprint. These items or user stories or tasks or features that are taken from the product backlog forms what we call the sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is a subset of the product backlog. It contains all the tasks the development team commits to completing in a specific sprint. Okay? It represents the how, right? Remember, we say the product backlog represents the what. The sprint backlog now represents how. It shows the concrete steps needed to deliver the items selected for the sprint. A great example are the tasks that make up our weekly projects. Remember, we said our weekly projects are sprints, while the deliverables of our weekly projects are increments. So, what the development team will make out of the sprint goal and the sprint backlog will be the increments. The increment is the sum of the task completed during the sprint. Okay, it represents what is done or what have been done during the sprint. It's a working product or feature that meets the definition of done and is potentially shippable. The next Scrum event is the daily Scrum. The daily Scrum is a 15 minutes time box event for the development team to synchronize activities and plan the next 24 hours. The focus questions during this daily scrum or the stand up meeting include what did we do yesterday, or what did you do, or what did I do yesterday? What will I do today? Or and are there any impediments? Did we encounter any impediments that needs to be taken out of the way? So following is the sprint review. The sprint review is a collaboration meeting held at the end of each sprint. And this meeting is held to inspect the deliverable, to demonstrate progress to stakeholders, and to adapt the product backlog based on feedback and changing business needs. This is like a demo meeting, but it's not just a demo meeting, it's a working session to gather insights, celebrate progress, and refine the roadmap forward. Key activities during the sprint review include demonstrating the working increment. The increment must meet the definition of done, it must meet the criteria for the definition of done. Items that are shown are real, functional, usable, right? Secondly, it is a meeting to gather feedback from stakeholders. Stakeholders provide reactions, questions, and suggestions. Stakeholders here may be clients, managers, users, even the organization or the development organization, including the product owner. The feedback helps shape upcoming priorities and improve team alignment with users' needs. Let's look at the sprint retrospective. The sprint retrospective is the final Scrum ceremony in the Scrum cycle. It occurs after the sprint review and serves as an opportunity for the Scrum team to reflect on their teamwork, processes, and tools with the goal of continuous improvement. In retrospect of our last week's sprint, we will inspect the sprint, identify improvement, and adapt for the future. So we'll be opening up communications now to get your feedback, what your challenges were, and what your recommendations are and what we will likely do to solve it. Basically, we will be seeing how the team worked together, what went well and what didn't. Were there any blockers, breakdown, or friction? So we will identify improvements and adapt for the future.
Yeah, thank you for the information shared so far. Um, I I don't necessarily have a question, but rather a suggestion. I feel like the last class or the last lesson rather was could be structured better, seeing as some parts of the cleaning process and the analysis itself could come before some other process, and some it was not just as organized as it could be. So I felt like mentioning this, like it could be structured in a better, more understandable way for everyone.
Thank you so much for your feedback. We understand what you are pointing at. However, it was the plan all along. If you were live in the class, you will have found out that there were directions. You saw that we were walking through a problem solving approach. We use several scenarios to showcase the different pitfalls and benefits of the different approach in solving data issues. For instance, we went along without using the trim method. So we had to go back to show you the importance of using trim and clean. If we do not face those challenges and come back to solving them, some people may not learn appropriately. It may not be so clear. So we use various scenarios in solving these issues. And these scenarios pointed to the fact that we had to ensure that we study our data clearly before even beginning our data cleaning process. So the approaches that were used based on working on data, based on different experiences we have had. So this method will make sure that we cover what we will not ordinarily cover if we're using a clear cut syllables. I hope that is clear.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
You know, when going on a journey in a place you've never been, the journey is usually longer. But while coming back or while returning, you find the journey to be shorter. I don't know if that has been an experience or experience of any of you. But the truth here is that we have people of different experience levels within you. We have those who have not used any of these tools before. We have those who are experienced in using the tools. However, the method that we share with you is a method or are methods that should help you solve problems. So if we are helping you solve problems, we need to open up your mind to problem solving instead of directing you on just how to solve the problems. Sometimes we'll give you stumbling blocks and just give you hints on how to solve them. This will develop your ability to solve problems better, to strengthen you on how to face these challenges when you meet them. And that is why we use such approaches. It may not be so direct, but it's showing you several methods on how you solve a problem and the challenges you may encounter if you use a problem. Definitely, we can show you directly on how to solve it, but we believe this is the best way to showcase or strengthen your problem solving ability and resolve.
Yeah, that's true. I understand more now. That makes more sense.
Very, very true. Yes, good morning, sir, and good morning, everyone. I want to really appreciate your work and the work of your team. And I beg to agree with you that the first lesson and the processes that you people took to present it, to me, it's actually the best. Because, for example, when I for the X lookup now, you gave us the way we can handle it under the um, what's it called now? The Okay, you showed us how to use X lookup in Excel, and even though we had already solved it in our Power query table. So it helped me to actually understand that these things are processes. But what I want to ask is, I encountered a whole lot of problems, yes, and of course we have various ways of learning. But when I encounter a problem, I go back to the video, watch the aspect of it, and get a hook on the matter and how to solve it, and it helps me to understand better. Because there are various aspects of the okay. The thing is that I started asking myself if the first lesson that we are learning now. I have a basic knowledge about Excel already, but after going to data analytics now, I realized that I actually know nothing. And if the first step, the first lesson, the first class that we just had now is as bogus as this, I seem to wonder what is to come going forward. I am actually excited, and honestly, to tell you the truth, this is actually my number one project in my life as I am now for the next 1 year, to give it my all and to soak myself in it. I encountered many problems, but going back to the video, I tried to find the idea and then solve them myself, and I came up with my deliverable. But there's one thing that I couldn't solve, and that was because I didn't want to go back to start the whole thing all over again, because I spent a whole lot of time to get to where I didn't want to go back and start all over again to correct it. So the thing was that when I was deleting helper columns, I mistakenly, unknowingly, I was just deleting. When you check delete currency, I deleted the currency there were two currency columns then. So I deleted currency columns. So I didn't know how to get back the one that is supposed to be part of my project that should be there. I thought of going back to the main table to copy it and come and delete it, but I felt it might disrupt the whole formulas and whatever that I've used all this while, and it may not align. If I copy it may not align with one aspect before. So I just decided to leave it as that. But my question is, if someone deletes a column on Power Query and you want to like get it back, is there a way to get it back without the main table to copy and paste? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for your feedback and question. You can always retrieve a step taken in Power Query, and you can do that by deleting the step you took. That is,
Yes.
while you inserted or while you removed that column by accident, what you would have done will be to delete that step so that you get your column back. In fact, if you just go over that step and click on the step before that remove column step, you'll find out that your column is still there. It's not removed yet. So if you just click the X on the applied step where you have removed column, you will see that you won't have that issue.
Okay, yes, sir, I understand. Now, the major problem was that I actually load my data to back to Excel before it was when I was trying to do my data dictionary, I realized that currency was no longer there. That was when my eyes. But
All right. So since you have already loaded your data into the worksheet, be reminded that you still have a connection. So you can go to the data tab in queries and connection, click on edit to edit that query, and then you can use the process I just shared with you. You can also, by the right side or right panel, you see queries and connection panel by the side of your table. You can right click on that query and say edit. When you click on edit, it takes you to the Power Query editor so that you can apply the steps I just shared with you as well. Okay?
Can I go ahead? Can I go ahead?
Sure you can. Sure you can.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kingsley. Before I say what I want to say, I want to appreciate the organizers of this program. Honestly, to tell the truth, it has really been very well organized so far. I have been in a few internship programs, and I think this, from the way the people have been managing it so far, it has been really good. And with regards to the week one projects, or should I say deliverable or lesson, it was well delivered, considering all things considered, from the way the tutor handled the presentation, going about the project, cleaning the data sets and all that. It was really good. I personally, I am a formula kind of person. I know most of course, at the end of the day, the essence, the goal is to clean the data sets. I know there are some processes that we could have done in different ways, in other ways, to still achieve the same goal. But it's still not, at the end of the day, like I said, the goal is to clean the data set. So what I want to chip in is, now I know I might be jumping the gun here. I know I might, like I said, I am a formula kind of guy, or probably because I have experience working on personal projects, and a lot of this thing. I've done a lot of cleaning, and now I want to ask, isn't it better from a business perspective to have business questions on hand regarding the data set than just randomly cleaning? Like maybe we worked with a sales audit data set, like maybe, okay, have business questions that we can be able to answer. Then while working on that data set, we'll be answering those questions along. Like maybe we can have, okay, what areas were our highest sales, what area, you know what I'm trying to say? Have those questions on ground so that we can, those are the things will be, so we don't just be randomly cleaning or generally clean. Because if we focus on the cleaning alone, even I know there are still some things we did not clean, probably because we are trying to minimize the extent of tasks required. Like I think the name, the customer, is it the customer name, the column, we did not we didn't clean it. Yes, we didn't, and all. But what I'm just saying is, can't we incorporate having business questions? Because at the end of the day, a data analyst is supposed to answer business questions, or is supposed to um help drive business decisions. So if we don't have those kind of questions that maybe shareholders or stakeholders in a business would want us to be able to help them to answer, it will just be we working, playing with our data sets. Maybe probably we can just have those kind of questions on ground that we can answer, so that it will help our analysis better. That's just my own, but kudos so far. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you so much for your feedback and your contribution. We recognize the place for business questions. We are getting there. However, we are not there yet. We need to actually know how to solve problems, identify problems, and solve them. Right now, the business questions are answered by us because we have set aside business questions as to what we want to achieve. That is why we can neglect certain data that isn't part of the business question in the first place. If you take a look at your calendar, you see that we have a business case. Within the business case, you will see that we already have set up a way to solve the business case. And that is why we are taking you on the class. So we are not just solving or playing with data as you pointed. We are actually solving these cases. And that is why, as you pointed or rightly pointed, we did not even clean the customer name column because it's of no importance to our business case. Okay, so we are getting to a point where we will teach you how to generate business cases, teach you how to also generate business questions based on the deliverable your stakeholders want you to deliver. For instance, you don't expect the stakeholders to be the one to ask these business questions. They just have a goal. They have a goal. They know what they want delivered, but you are the professional. So we don't want to go with what is the common thing because we have seen that the common thing has taken or is taking people nowhere. The common thing is a plug and play where data analysts begin to just want to always wait for instructions. However, that is not the case. Let us continue gradually and we will get there so that you will know what it entails. Then, before you know how to generate these questions, and then you will see that you will be better for it. Okay. For instance, just imagine a software, you are a software developer, and somebody wants to design a software and comes to you and say, I want to design a software that does so, so, and so. It's in your place to begin to recommend what should be put in the application and not the other way around. If the person already knows what to apply in their application, they might not need a consultant. We want to make sure that you interns round up this internship program with a mindset of a consultant with an experience level that can function in any team. Okay, so that is what we want you to be able to achieve. I don't know if that is clear.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Innocent. I want to say, well done for the job done. I I actually got trained at ALX, and then we weren't taught Excel, but I have little knowledge on Excel. But when I did the project, and I had many challenges, I had to do it and redo and redo and redo again. So I've still not gotten some parts, and I'm still going to go over it. I want to say thank you to you. Thank you so much. So I just want to say that our Telegram page, I notice people ask a lot of questions, and these are questions that I don't know, but I want to ask you first. Please, can we make use of ChatGPT in case like questions like, oh, where can I find this ribbon? Where can I find this? Where
Exactly.
can I do this? If we make use of ChatGPT, it will help us, and then it will minimize the number of questions we ask on Telegram, and then we can focus on major questions that we know that we are not really clear with.
All right, that is a very good point. You can use ChatGPT to ask your questions, but you have to also be careful so that you don't get thrown out of the way, right? You don't get confused. Okay. So if you know how to use ChatGPT or any AI, you can use that to help you quickly solve your problems. But again, remember that asking questions also help us build community. Okay. So it's good that people ask questions.
Yes, yes.
All right. So I want to applaud you for trying and trying and trying again. The trying and trying and trying again will only make you better. It will make your hands, in the local parlance, your hands stronger. It's just like you're riding through a rough patch, you get better as you go on. And that shows that you are committed. Try and try to make sure you can solve the issues that you find. You will discover that it will give you the necessary experience to solve data issues. It is not easy to solve issues without breaking the data, without losing data. So that is what we want to achieve, to solve issues or data issues without necessarily losing important aspects of our data and affecting our analysis.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My
Good
from
morning.
the data set that was sent, I think I just noticed something different from the one you were actually showing us, because the data set that I downloaded, all the data type are already in type are correct. So I was, but the one you're using, you are not changing them. You are gradually changing text. So I was thinking, why not the raw file sent to us so that we'll now follow the process and do it. Thank you.
All right, so actually, we had worked on the data set and had to delete the sheets. So I agree with you that we will save an entirely different version of the same data set to be sent to you without actually doing any work on it. But for the data type, Power Query is set by default to identify data types. So usually, if you import your data using Power Query, it should correct some of the unidentified data types or identify the data types. But since mine is used for instructional purpose, I made sure that it's set to any so that I can actually instruct or direct how data types should be uh, changed. Is that clear?
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So we also did some level of modification. We basically say caused a little bit of problems within the data to see how you will innovatively solve the problems. Like in the store ID, we had to take out some store IDs to have more null values within that store ID. That is some, in fact, more empty cells within it, and I saw that most of you were finding it difficult, while some were innovatively looking for ways to solve it. You had the issues with removing duplicates, with some duplicates refusing to go out because of that. So that was done on purpose. It's also a learning opportunity for you to actually find ways to solve the problems, even though there are not problems discussed in class and so on. So some are just subtly set to make sure or see if you will be able to solve the problems.
So, sir, I noticed it. I noticed it. I said, I told my brother that this man did want to show us wicked. That's why I did this thing. because, because when I checked the data for like 2 days, I was going through the data. I was like, I was one that actually felt up complain that, sir, this my Excel format, it's not my Excel version. It's
Yes,
exactly that store ID that you created no value. Because I
yes,
now
yes.
look at the data and saw that this thing has no value again. What I now did was that I now did the store map lookup,
Okay.
arrange those things. So when I arrange those things, I now later remove duplicate. I now found out, wow, the whole duplicate just move. I said, ah, this
Yes,
man, you are wicked, though. This man is wicked. But I really learned a lot. I really learned a lot. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate.
you're welcome. The pleasure is ours.
Hello, good morning. I'm here. So please, I have a question concerning the last project. So everything was going well, but I had issues with the Power Pivot. I couldn't find Power Pivot in my Excel. I don't know if it's because of my Excel version or if I need to download it separately or something. But I noticed that it wasn't there.
So what's your Excel version?
I think 2019 or so.
All right, so 2019, you should already or should have Power Pivot. So I will guide you. I'll send a how to step on how to enable your Power Pivot.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So, thank you very much for the initiative. So, I just have a quick question. So, I understand that, okay, the approach to solving the problems, cleaning the data, particularly, there are like different approaches to them. So I want to ask for this one, I don't know, maybe going forward it will be different, but particularly for this week one, you actually did about two approaches to cleaning the data. So my question is, if we probably have a different approach to solving the question rather than the one you took us through, can we actually do it the same way? That's one. Two, do we have to exactly give you what you did? I mean, like the approach you took. Maybe you probably use several approach, and when is our own time, we have to return the same energy, or the goal is to have the same results. Because some of us are very busy that, I mean, we don't want to use two, three different approaches as long as we are arriving at the same result. So I just want to be clear on that.
All right, so yes, you have to follow the steps or go through the steps we show you. And even though there are various approaches, you see that there are different pitfalls and advantages or disadvantages to using a particular method, right? So you have to use every method we use so that you'll be sure that you have learned these methods. There is no one way to solve a problem. In fact, the more ways you know how to attack and solve a problem, the better for you. So it's important that you don't rely on just what you know, but add more knowledge. If we were to stick to what we know, then we wouldn't have to unlearn, relearn. Okay, so we have to go through this process because it's part of a structure. There is a goal for this. Okay, so yes, it's important that you create a time, show commitment, and complete your task as at when due.
So, firstly, I just want to say thank you very much for everything so far, the lessons, and how responsive you and the rest of your team are. Always responsive. That's one thing that's really helping with the flow of the internship so far. So, thank you so much for that. I want to ask you a question regarding the project management side of this. I'm I definitely have a lot of confidence in every single thing you've taught us so far, and I'm sure we'll continue to learn newer concepts. So I understand, or from what I understand, the reason why we're using ClickUp at first is because it's supposed to give us this kind of environment for project management, right?
Yes, sure, sure.
Okay. So and then we got issues with continuing the communication because of subscription and whatnot. So I just wanted to ask, is it possible for us to still maybe get introduced to any other free version of project management tools just to kind of give us that same environment as well, regardless of the fact that, we had these issues with ClickUp? Or is it now totally just out of question?
All right, thank you for your question. So it is not just about the upgrade challenge, right? The issue was that interns were finding it difficult to navigate the software, and it was quite hectic for most of you. And we wanted the teams, the interns, to bond better before they begin to face any, say, any unwanted or unnecessary challenge. So we decided to use a platform that everybody is conversant with. At the time, or by the time when we split you into teams for specialty, we will go back to using ClickUp. We use ClickUp as a team here in our organization. So by then, you would have been able to solve data issues, be comfortable with solving data issues. You will have known yourself and already be conversant with the internship program and must have bonded. Then we can now give you a walkthrough on how to use ClickUp because it's really necessary that you know how to use tools that teams around the world use. So we'll go back to using ClickUp. We'll use ClickUp and we will show you and all the interns how to use the application better. We will also be looking at workplace skills and how to use the applications for reporting. The issues, again, if you remember, when we added the calendar for the program, you could remember that some interns were closing the task. You understand?
Yes, I do. All right. Thank you.
You are most welcome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. You'll be the last but not the least.
I don't mind being the least for now, actually, sir. Yes, I wanted to say I've made a personal decision to do hard things. That's what people who went through ALX will always say. I've not gone through ALX. I'm just taking a quote from there. So I believe as a learner, there are stages in life, the learner to the master. I don't really think the learner has a lot of opinions or options. in the learning process. This is what I feel. And that is why when I see a trusted and tested system of imbibing knowledge and skill set to people, I would admonish myself and everyone with me to learn instead of trying to suggest shortcuts. I hate shortcuts. Shortcuts lessen the probability of you knowing what the master wants you to learn. So I want to say thank you for what you've put together. I find it very instructive. The pace and tempo of your instructions on YouTube, how you go through it step by step. I have no problem with it, and I really want to give kudos to the organizers of this program and say thank you. So that's just my personal feedback. It's not really. It's just my personal feedback to you that everything going on is okay and good, and we'll learn from it and we'll build little by little from it. Thank you.
So thank you so much for your feedback. What you pointed out is actually the fact. The fact is, if we decide to make it easy for intern A, intern B will have something to complain about. If we make it easy for intern C, intern D will also have something to complain about. So the ideal is that we have created a system that we have a proof at the end that if anyone goes through this system, we are certain that the person will come out in a certain way. And here we have a tested and trusted system that will ensure that you come out successful. We have put these skills together based on what is in demand. So, problem solving is highly critical in data analytics. You can't say you are a data analyst and can solve problems. So, this is not your ordinary curriculum where you just go ahead and learn things. We are training you, or we are building leaders, change agents of you. We are ensuring that you're able to solve problems when you encounter them. These are things that make you stand out in the workplace and stand out in your career as a data analyst. Not just a data analyst, also a business intelligence expert. So it's important that you trust the system, follow the system, and so that you will be able to get the results that the system have planned. So it's very important that you can set your minds to achieve that, because the truth is we have opinions. Some people may say you should have done it this way, some will say you will have done it that way, but what is fact is actually fact. I do say this a lot. The fact is the fact, right? And what has proven to be beneficial will be beneficial unless proven otherwise. So it's important that we go through this process with an open mind, ready to solve data issues to make ourselves stand out, right? So thank you so much. So let's go into the next session. So let's plan. Our goal for this week's sprint will be to build a dynamic inventory risk dashboard in Excel using Power Query, Power Pivot, and data analysis expression to predict stockouts 4 weeks ahead to prevent $1.2 million in Black Friday losses. Remember what we talked about a sprint goal, that it gives us clarity on what we need to achieve within the time boxed event, within the sprint. In our case, our sprint is 1 week, which is 5 days. So within this sprint, we are going to have different roles. The product owner, the responsibilities of the product owner will be to validate dashboards, accuracy, and business alignment. Then you have the Scrum Master, who will be your mentor that guides you through DAX, Power Query issues, and facilitates ceremonies. Remember, we've talked about the ceremonies. Then you will be the development team. You will execute data cleaning, DAX logic, and dashboard designs to yield the deliverable. So if you look at our sprint goal again, it becomes very clear that we could easily break down this goal into smaller tasks, right? Just as we discussed that these tasks makes the sprint easy and executable. So now we have our task broken down, and the first task will be to load and clean sales, inventory, forecast, and product master tables in Power Query. That is to say that these are the tables we'll be using, okay? Then the second task will be to build a star schema, that is a relationship between these tables, okay? The third task will be to create DAX measures, that is for forecast for weeks, risk flag, and surge adjusted forecast. Then the fourth task will be to design conditional formatting rules for at-risk products in Excel. So the fifth will be to build an interactive pivot table dashboards with slicers. Then the sixth task will be to implement what if analysis for such demand scenarios. The seventh task will be a task for every team member, which will be a peer review to validate DAX logic, data model relationships, and dashboard accuracy. The eighth task will be to draft a one-page executive summary with key findings and recommendations. All right, for your deliverable to meet the definition of done, you have to have the inventory risk dashboard. You also have an executive summary. For the inventory risk dashboard, it should display risk flag for all products. It should also include slicers for region, week, and such scenario simulations. It should pass peer review, that is, no errors in DAX or data model. So the deliverables, we will have the increment, which will be the Excel file with clean data tables, Power Pivot model with DAX measures, then the interactive dashboard plus the surge simulation. Then the documentation, the first documentation will be a data dictionary. Then the second will be your one-page executive summary. So, congratulations on the success of week one, and congratulations in advance for the success of week two. We have high hopes, and we are sure that you are committed to fulfilling the objectives and the goals of this week. We know that all things will work for you as you walk along these paths. We want to tell you that we love you and that we are rooting for you. We want you to get the best out of this experience. So, does anyone have any other question?
Yeah, I noticed there was two communication officer roles, one for cohort, and I wanted to ask if there are two separate people for those tasks or it's just for one person.
All right. So the cohort team leadership is different from the team leadership. Okay. So we have the roles and responsibility document that we have shared with you, but we will still share the document. I think is titled document 2.0, where you have a clear cut responsibility. Right. The cohort leadership is leadership of all interns. You know, the interns are grouped in teams as well. So we have the team leadership to take care of team needs while you take care of all intern needs. So I will send those documents across. All right. So make sure you have an excellent week, a splendid week ahead. Thank you so much for your time. Remember, we are rooting for you.